A father accused of murder came face to face with his son today. Robert Fratta is on trial for a second time for hiring two men to kill his wife, Farah. Today, their son testified against his father. Eyewitness News reporter Cynthia Cisneros was in the courtroom for today's testimony. Cynthia?
Alona, today it was all about the phone calls and how many phone calls Robert Fratta made the night that his wife, Farah Fratta, was murdered. And as you just said, Robert Fratta is accused of hiring hitmen to perform the murder, accused of being on the phone that night of the murder. To help prove their point, prosecutors called in one of three people that spent the day with Robert Fratta. Robert Fratta's eyes never looked elsewhere. He looked directly at his son Bradley Baquer as the young man walked to the witness stand. Bradley Baquer did just the opposite. He never looked at his father. Bradley Baquer is 22 years old now, but was only 7 years old when his mother Farah Fratta was murdered. On that day in 1994, Bradley and his younger brother and sister were with their father. How much independent recollection do you have? Asked prosecutor Mia Magnus. Brief moments, answered Bradley Baquer. Pictures in my head. Robert Fratta drove the children to their mother's house after she was murdered. Bradley Baquer told the jury what he remembers seeing. I saw yellow tape everywhere, he said. I had no idea what was going on. I was confused. Robert Fratta was in divorce proceedings with his wife in 1994, and on the day of her murder had visitation with their children. Bradley Baquer remembering one important detail, say prosecutors, that Robert Fratta received and made several phone calls that night. He told us to wait in the car while he made a phone call, testified Bradley Baquer. One last phone call, say prosecutors, before Fratta drove to Farah Fratta's house to deliver the children, after she'd been fatally shot and after Harris County Sheriff's deputies arrived. Prosecutors did not say it was the same gun, but did call several witnesses to testify the murder weapon is the same type of revolver, a .38 Special, bought by Robert Fratta in 1982, a gun that he'd even registered with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. Now, it's not just Bradley Baquer that was talking about how many phone calls Robert Fratta made the night that Farah Fratta was murdered. The prosecution calling in several ladies that were at church being the place where Robert Fratta took his three children the night that Farah Fratta was murdered. Those women are on the stand now. They are testifying that the phone rang several times, his pager going off several times, causing a distraction in Bradley Baquer's catechism class back in 1994. Now, here's the schedule as we understand it. The prosecution telling us that they hope to rest their case today. The defense hoping to present their case tomorrow. Closing arguments in the Robert Fratta capital murder case are expected to happen on Thursday. Reporting live from downtown Houston at the Harris County Criminal Courthouse, Cynthia Cisneros, 13 Eyewitness News.